Hi, and welcome to Wednesday's Words of Worship. I'm Kevin, the worship pastor here at Mount Pleasant Church. Now, several weeks ago, we shared the story of a woman that anointed Jesus' feet while Jesus was reclining at the table of the Pharisee's house. Luke chapter 7 says that the woman had lived a sinful life and came to meet Jesus. Now, if you recall the story, she washed Jesus' feet with her tears as she wept, and then wiped them with her hair, and then anointed them with the perfume from an alabaster jar. Her actions were completely misunderstood by the Pharisees as they condemned her, and they even dismissed Jesus' authority because they thought that Jesus didn't know what kind of woman this was. After all, she was a sinner. So Jesus questioned them with this question from verse 41. Two people owed money to a certain moneylender. One owed him 500 denarii and the other 50. Neither of them had the money to pay him back. So he forgave the debts of both. Now which of them will love him more? Simon replied, I suppose the one who had the bigger debt forgiven. You have judged correctly, Jesus said. Now, we kind of understand that Jesus is saying that the more you are forgiven, the more thankful you will be. We could apply that to our lives and assume that, the more sinful life we've lived, the more thankful we should be when we experience God's grace and His forgiveness. Now, the truth is that it really doesn't matter how good or how bad we've been. None of us measures up to God's holy standard. So we are all in the same position as the sinful woman, completely reliant upon God's grace and His forgiveness. Now, here's something else that I'd like for us to consider. Have you ever seen someone being swarmed by a bee? Or maybe someone walk through a spider web? The gyrations, the ducking, the weaving, the swatting. It sends us into kind of a spastic reaction to the situation. But someone who is observing from a distance away only sees the panic motions and never sees the cause of our flailing. The point I want us to consider is that we may not understand people's actions, their reactions, or the way that they approach worship. And it may be that we just can't see what they've been through or what they're going through. Now, if you've experienced God's grace and forgiveness, we should be motivated to extravagant worship, just like the woman in Luke 7. Her experience of forgiveness motivated her to extravagant worship, and it should do the same for us too. Hey, thanks for listening, and I hope you'll join me again next week for Wednesday's Words of Worship.